I'm a B-list actress with a sugar daddy. Lately, something happened. He turned out to be a fake rich kid, a baby switched at birth. The day the news broke, his adoptive parents kicked him out, and he moved in with his biological family. Seeing how down he was, I couldn't help it. I threw my arm around him and said, "I'll take care of you." And just like that, I went from sugar baby to girlfriend. When I went home with him to meet his parents, I found out his so-called move was from his adoptive family's hillside mansion to his birth parents' Chinese-style estate. Damn it. He played me. I found out about Luke Smith being a switched baby from a gossip account online. The posts were full of righteous indignation, saying Luke had been kicked out of the Smith family and was now homeless. I didn't believe it at first, but that night, I waited at home till late, and Luke finally came back exhausted, drained. My heart skipped a beat. I lowered my voice and asked, "What's wrong? Rough day?" He sat down beside me, rested his head on my shoulder. It was a vulnerable, needy gesture. I'd never seen Luke like this. He said, "I moved." Just those two words, and I immediately thought of the fake heir news. I asked carefully, "Is it true what they're saying online about the switch?" "Yeah," Luke said. "My last name should be Dawson." His voice was so flat, I figured the whole thing had hit him hard. I mean, the people you've called mom and dad for over 20 years suddenly aren't actually your parents. That's a hell of a shock for anyone. I ran my fingers through his hair, trying to comfort him. "Honestly, Luke Dawson sounds even nicer than Luke Smith." He gave me a weak smile. "I guess." Seeing him forcing a smile like that, I couldn't bring myself to pry further. I just said, "Get some rest. Don't think too much." He nodded and walked toward the bedroom. A few steps in, he turned back to look at me. "Isabel, will you come with me?" "Of course." I took a few steps forward, and he grabbed my hand, holding it tightly as we walked into the bedroom together. Luke always liked to cuddle me while he slept. Tonight was no different, except it was. He held me tighter than ever, like he was trying to pull me into his bones. My face was pressed against his chest, the soft smoothness warm against my skin. Normally, I'd be all blissed out and nuzzling him. But tonight, I just wrapped my arms around his waist and gently patted his back to soothe him. I understood. His whole world had been upended, and he needed comfort, someone to lean on. Seeing him like this made my chest tighten, but it didn't make sense. He was just my sugar daddy, not my boyfriend. Now that he was no longer a rich heir, I should have been worried about my own future in the entertainment industry, not his emotional state. Still, I reached up and smoothed the frown from his brow. I wouldn't be where I am today without Luke. Sure, I work hard and I fight for what I want, but let's be honest. This industry isn't just about effort and talent. You need luck and opportunities. And if you don't have those, you'd better have a powerful backer. At first, I had none of that, just an endless supply of energy and passion. Then one day, after the wrap party for a shoot, someone set me up. They sent me to a hotel penthouse Luke's room. I was dizzy, weak, barely conscious. All I could think was, shit, I'm done for. I had no strength to fight back. Later, Luke came back to his room. He was drunk too, mistook me for a body pillow and cuddled me all night. The next morning, I woke up in his arms and nearly died of fright. Before I could freak out, I was hit by his devastatingly handsome face. It's not like I had anything against him. I just didn't approve of the whole sleazy culture in our industry. I stared at his eyes narrow and long. What would they look like when open? His lashes were thick, his nose high and sharp. Why did all the good genes land on this one guy? I was totally lost in thought when his lashes fluttered. Then, he opened his eye, staring straight at me. Luke rubbed his forehead and sat up. After a second, he seemed to remember. He said firmly, "I was drunk. I wouldn't have done anything to you." I looked at his rumpled shirt, a few buttons undone, showing his pale chest and defined abs, and nodded. "I know. You just held me while we slept." We both took turns showering. Then we sat on the couch, quietly observing each other. Luke's hair was still damp. He'd changed clothes, and his expression was cold and stern. He spoke. "I'll get to the bottom of what happened last night. As for us, I'm sorry. I'll offer you some compensation, if that's okay." "Not long? What's not long?" I said. "Even if it's not long, it's fine." "Luke?" I caught myself. "Oh, you mean the compensation." Honestly, Luke hadn't done anything wrong. He'd just come back to his room and fallen asleep drunk. I was the one who ended up in his bed. If anything, I was the one out of line. But it's not like I did it on purpose, so I didn't really think I was at fault either. Still, Luke had spoken first. If he felt like he'd crossed a line and wanted to make it up to me, why should I say no? Sometimes, a good springboard is better than struggling on your own. I thought for a second and said, "There's a show I'd like to audition for." Then I told him the name of the director and the series. Luke didn't hesitate. "That's easy. I'll call the director." Not long after, I joined the production. My role wasn't even third lead, but I was thrilled. I happily packed up and joined the crew. Luke worried I'd just be slacking off, wasting his recommendation. So he often came to the set to check on the work. He'd ask the director about my acting, whether I was cooperating well. He also asked me if I could handle the director's intense working style. I was afraid he'd replace me halfway through, so my answers were always, "The crew's great, the director's great, and the director says I'm great too." Emphasis on that last part. Luke let out a soft, and said, "Keep it up." I found out later he was actually the investor behind the show. During that shoot, he visited the set often and treated me better and better. He wasn't just checking in on my performance. He brought me flowers and gifts for my birthday, even gave me rides home. I knew it wasn't just about work anymore. He was probably trying to keep me. That's what I figured. So I asked him, straight up. Luke stayed silent for a long time before looking confused. "Is that what you think? Just tell me if I guessed right." I was proud of my deduction, thinking I'd hit the nail on the head. Before he could answer, I jumped in. "I'm not that easy, you know. Unless you let me feel, Luke." He smirked. "Feel what?" "Your abs or whatever. I need to verify the goods first." Luke laughed in disbelief. This is the first time I've heard of a sugar daddy getting quality checked. Even so, he took my hand and guided it to his stomach. The moment my fingers touched his warm, firm abs, I flinched. I talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, I chicken out fast. He exhaled, then asked in a low voice, "So, satisfied?" I poked around, then nodded quickly. "Satisfied. That'll do." Sure, I'm the kind of person who can't be seduced by wealth, swayed by poverty, or intimidated by power. But there are exceptions abs, pecs, and the occasional slow burn. Luke was always responsible. He helped me plan my career seriously. Thanks to him, I rose from total obscurity to a solid B-list actress. I didn't rely on hype, but I always had work. It wasn't until I was with him that I realized I didn't have to constantly struggle or be singled out and humiliated. I could be treated fairly, too. I was full of confidence, hopeful for the future, maybe even dreaming of a Best Actress award. But before I even had a chance to shine on stage, my support system collapsed. My best actress dream shattered with a snap. I mourned it as I drifted off to sleep. The next morning, Luke was already up. He walked out of the bathroom in a bathrobe, towel drying his hair. He was just ridiculously good-looking. I lay on my side, watching him, and realized I didn't want to abandon him and go it alone. So I said, "Luke, how about I take care of you from now on?" He looked genuinely stunned. "What?" I said, "I'll take care of you." I sat up, waved my hand, grandly. "So what if you're not the Smith family's golden boy anymore? So what if you're broke? Don't worry. I can still earn. I'll take care of you." Luke went quiet, probably overwhelmed. After a while, he raised a brow and asked, "You'll take care of me? Are you sure you're not breaking things off?" After all, I was just your sugar daddy, not your boyfriend. My eyes darted he wasn't wrong. I had thought about ending it. Trying to cover up my guilt, I shouted, "What kind of talk is that? Luke, listen. You're underestimating me. I'm not the type who only enjoys the good times and bails when things get hard." Luke chuckled. So I'll earn the money and support the household, and you stay home and be pretty." Luke tossed his towel aside and walked over. He pulled me out from under the covers and sat me on his lap. He kissed my cheeks and lips, again and again. "That good? You're like a fairy tale princess. How should I repay you?" I seriously considered what reward to ask for. But then, he started kissing me again. My eyes, my nose, then my lips. He grabbed my hair, pulling gently so I had to tilt my head back. He kept kissing me until my face was flushed, and my lashes were damp with tears of overstimulation. I finally heard him chuckle low and whisper, "Such a sweet and kind girl. I'll give you all of me, okay?" After breakfast, I painfully wired Luke $1 million. Not because I wanted to give him that much, but thinking back, he'd gotten me great roles, beautiful dresses, and priceless jewelry. He was generous with me, so I couldn't be stingy. Still, it hurt a little. You've got to spend wisely, okay? You know I'm frugal. From now on, we've got to use our money where it really counts. If any of your old friends still see you as a brother, treat them to dinner, reconnect. You never know, they might help you down the line. And those who distanced themselves or kicked you while you were down, forget them. Got it? I was giving him a whole lecture while mentally going through more advice. But Luke suddenly leaned in and kissed me again. I was caught off guard and tried to push him away. Listen to me." He backed off a little, looking sincere. "Sorry. You were just too adorable, making all these plans for me. I couldn't help it." Me? Sneaky. He knew I'm shallow and easily flustered. When flattered yet, he still said all that sweet stuff. I tried to act serious. "Even if you say that, I'm still gonna be a little mad. Otherwise, where's the authority of the head of the house?" Still, seeing that Luke wasn't downcast anymore, I felt pretty happy too. That gave me peace of mind to focus on work. I was filming a historical drama. The director was nearly 60 prime age for shaking things up. Nothing stays secret in this industry. People on set more or less knew I had something going on with Luke, and he never had either visited the set openly. But because Luke was young and handsome, no one could quite figure out what our relationship was. Some said we were dating, others thought we were relatives. Of course, some guessed right that I'd latched onto a sugar daddy. No matter what they thought, they were all polite but distant. Now that Luke's situation was all over the news, the crew definitely knew. I had just arrived at set when I overheard people whispering, "Was he really switched at birth?" I didn't even see it trending, it just disappeared. Probably suppressed by the Smith family. They've got power. Yeah. I wonder how Luke's doing now. Don't you mean Luke Dawson now? What else? He must have been kicked out. If you ask me, Isabel's definitely gonna dump him now that he's broke. I pretended not to hear, staring straight ahead, but inside, I was fuming. Why do people always judge through a crack in the door? Not only did I not dump him, I vowed to support him. Even Luke said I was as kind as a storybook princess. I was just thinking this when a particularly grating voice cut through the air. Shh. So that dazzling young heir, turns out he was just a fraud. My steps faltered. I looked up. Tony Camel. He'd been in the industry for years. I always followed a "don't mess with me, I won't mess with you" policy, and kept a friendly face for everyone. Except him. Tony was the one exception. The year I entered the business, I played the 4th female lead in a fantasy drama. 4th lead was a stretch I barely had any screen time. Tony played the main villain. He had been around for a while, was a solid actor with a clean reputation and good word of mouth. We had scenes together, so we got to know each other. At first, he was kind and helpful. He'd coach me through scenes, help me find the camera, and get into character. I respected him, saw him as a kind mentor. As we neared the end of filming, we had a wireworks scene. I played a demoness who'd turned good, sacrificing herself along with the villain. According to the script, we'd fall from the air onto a cushion. The VFX team would add the soul-scattering effects in post. But when we dropped, Tony pinched Met Weiss just below the small of my back. The costume was loose, and he thought he was being sneaky, but I felt it, loud and clear. I've always had a short fuse and zero patience for bullshit. I didn't care about consequences. Burning with shame and fury, I bounced up and slapped him across the face. The smack echoed. The entire crew froze. Tony was utterly humiliated and held a grudge against me ever since. Funny thing is, I didn't even tell anyone. His skin was so thick it actually hurt my hand when I slapped him. Later, when I was drugged and sent to Luke's room, it was his doing too. He figured that someone like Luke, with his background, would never let me off easy. But, surprise it turns out, I clung to that phoenix branch and soared straight up. Meanwhile, Tony's gigs dried up, his popularity tanked, and now he couldn't even land decent roles, just small cameos in minor productions. I knew Luke had stepped in. He'd always been the type to hit back hard. If someone screwed him over and he didn't retaliate, it'd mean he was possessed. Before joining the cast of this historical drama, I hadn't seen Tony in a long time, never thought we'd end up in the same crew again. He played a bit part, a minor character that only appeared in a few episodes. Understandable. Directors usually don't care about drama between actors. As long as you can do your job, you're in. I didn't care either. I outranked him now, so there was nothing to fear. And as for the past, he was the one in the wrong. I had every right to be here. If one of us had to go, it sure as hell wouldn't be me. If he wasn't afraid, why should I be? So, even though we were on the same set, we stayed out of each other's way. Things were peaceful until now. When he started trash-talking Luke, I couldn't take it. I glared at him and snapped. Even a barking dog is heard outside a shabby gate. Tony froze, then barked. What the hell does that mean? I clicked my tongue. I'm talking about you. Who else? Is this what you've sunk to mocking others to feel better about yourself? Pathetic. Tony choked on his words and fell silent. Watching Tony eat dirt made my day. I happily returned to filming. At lunch, I went out for barbecue with Anna Megan, who played the lead. After work, I got home to find dinner already made by Luke. I washed up and sat at the table. Seeing all my favorite dishes laid out, I asked, "Is this the life of a kept woman? You actually know how to cook all this? Wait, is this just reheated takeout? It's not laced with anything, is it?" Luke set a glass of warm milk in front of me. "Handmade, organic, zero additives, try it." I picked up a slice of braised beef, took a bite, and gave him a big thumbs up. Delicious. After a long day of work, I deserved a hot meal and a hot man to eat with. As I dug in, I asked, "So, what did you do today? Luke, are you checking up on me?" Honestly, it was just casual conversation, but the way he said it made me feel extra powerful. "Yep," I said excitedly. "I'm exercising my sugar mommy rights. Report what'd you do today." Luke chuckled. "All right. Quick rundown. I met with Jack Smith." "Jack Smith?" "Yeah, the Smith's real son." I tensed up immediately. "He asked to meet you? What for? He didn't give you a hard time, did he?" Luke rested his chin on his hand, smiling. "What if he did? What would you do?" I frowned. What kind of question was that? What else? I'd suck it up, of course. "Luke," I explained, "we can't afford to offend the Smiths right now. If he looks down on you, just walk away with your dignity." To soften the blow, I added, "Revenge is a dish best served cold, you know." Seeing Luke's gloomy expression, I circled back to the original topic. "So, what did you two actually talk about?" Luke said, "Just some family stuff. I wanted to get a feel for what my biological parents are like, to help me adjust faster." "So, did you learn anything? You've met them, right? What are they like? Easy to get along with?" Luke didn't sound sure. "I guess they're okay. My dad's serious and quiet. My mom smooth says all the right things without revealing much." Sounded like two tough cookies. I couldn't help but worry. "You've got to get along with them, okay? Watch that temper of yours. But if they treat you badly, don't force it. You still have me." I patted my chest. "If you're tired, you can always rest on my broad bosom." I looked at him expectantly, waiting for the compliments to roll in how I was beautiful, kind, a literal angel. But Luke, the blockhead, completely missed the point. He raised a brow and said, "I should watch my temper. Since when do I have a temper?" I started thinking, did Luke even have a temper? I couldn't come up with anything. I bit my chopsticks, trying to remember, but all I could think of were the times I cursed at him and kicked him in bed. Or those late nights when he drove out to pick me up from train stations, airports, or the set. Or when I got the urge to cook and shattered 3 plates and 2 bowls, and he cleaned it all up without complaint. The more I thought, the more stunned I became. Not only could I not recall him losing his temper, I realized I was the one with all the attitude. Unacceptable! I felt guilty and glanced at him nervously. "Let's just drop it. I'll spare you the embarrassment. Eat." Luke smiled and took the last piece of my favorite braised pork trotter. That weekend, I attended a banquet thrown by the company's CEO. In events like these, filled with business tycoons and high society types, actors and idols are just decoration. We're there to liven up the boring scene. Honestly, I felt no different from the floral arrangements at the entrance. I couldn't contribute to the conversations about investments, policy, or PMI, and I couldn't just lounge around stuffing my face either. So I held my wine glass, stood tall, and drifted through the crowd. When I saw someone I knew, I'd nod and make small talk. After a few meaningless exchanges, I found a corner to hide in. I texted Luke. Everyone here speaks in riddles. I don't understand a word, and I can't leave. I'm so bored. He replied quickly. Right? Do they even realize how much effort it takes for our princess to get ready shower, makeup, hair, picking a dress? This boring banquet isn't worthy of Isabel the princess. I frowned at the screen. That message felt weird, like he was being passive-aggressive. Did he think I was high maintenance too? I sent a sticker of a cat throwing punches. I'm docking your allowance. Luke? What time can you leave? I'll come pick you up. I checked the time. About an hour. I kept glancing at my phone. Almost an hour later, people were starting to leave. I figured Luke was close, so I headed toward the exit. Just as I reached the banquet hall doors, someone stuck out a foot from the side. My skirt was long, my heels were high, and my vision was blocked. I had no time to react. I fell hard. A sharp pain shot through my knees and elbows. The only silver lining was that the banquet hall floor was carpeted, so at least I hadn't broken any bones. Grimacing from the pain, my eyes welled with tears as I looked up fiercely. Who did that? Tony and his agent were standing beside me, hands covering their mouths as they laughed. Oh dear, so clumsy. That must have hurt, huh? That was Tony's agent, Emily Cartera, middle-aged woman who'd been with him since his debut. Even after Tony's fall from grace, she didn't leave him. They just muddled through the industry together. I used to admire her. After all, it's easy to find people who'll share your success, but rare to find those who'll stick around through hardship. But today, she pulled a cheap stunt and then rubbed salt in the wound. I held back my tears and snapped back. What a damn eyesore. 2 toads squatting on my shoes. Tony blew up. What did you say? Emily grabbed him. Her wine glass tilted, and the red wine spilled all over my dress. She said, Isabel, this isn't the place to act tough. This banquet may look crowded, but there's only one star tonight, Jack. Now that Jack's inherited the Smith family, he's handling all the big projects. Everyone here is trying to cozy up to him, hoping for a slice of the pie. And you? Hanging all over Luke all day? How dare you show your face here? She glanced at my stained dress and laughed. Tony, look at her. She looks awful. I've never been the patient type. I'm hot-tempered and petty. After being spoiled by Luke always doting on me and praising me, I've gotten even more entitled. Sure, Luke might not be a rich heir anymore, but I'm still a solid B-list actress. You think you can humiliate me like this? And I'll just take it? Normally, after a fall like that, I'd just lie there and wait for Luke to come find me. It really did hurt. But now? Now that they've insulted me in front of everyone? No way. To me, woman causes a scene at a banquet sounds 10 times better than woman gets humiliated at a banquet. I forced myself to stand. I marched up to Tony and Emily and slapped them both hard. You're not even tall as a scallion, yet you really think you're hot stuff. I was willing to let it go, but you just had to beg for it. Rotten fish and stale shrimp, stop doing shady crap and try accumulating some karma, or your future kids will be cursed. Emily clutched her face, stunned. Then she lunged to hit me back, but Tony held her back. His face was pale with rage. This is Jack's event. Isabel, don't get too full of yourself. If you know what's good for you, walk out on your own. Otherwise, Jack will have security throw you out. I was about to bite back when a voice behind me said, I don't remember saying any of that. A man in a suit stepped through the crowd, people parting for him. He looked at me and offered his hand. I'm Jack. It was my first time meeting Jack, Real, son of the Smith family. The so-called true heir. He and Luke had similar vibes, quietly elegant, composed on the outside, sharp on the inside. At least, that was my first impression. I reached out and shook his hand briefly. "Are you all right?" he asked. "Not really. Mind helping me up?" "Thanks." Jack gave a small smile and offered his arm. "There's a lounge upstairs. Want to go change?" I nodded, and he helped me to the elevator. Just before stepping inside, he turned back slightly and said, "From now on, if I'm present, I'd prefer you two to stay away." That was clearly for Tony and Emily. Their faces went ghost white. Jack walked me to the lounge and was about to leave. His expression was cool, but he'd stood up for me and helped me save face. Seemed like a decent guy. I called out, "Jack." I hesitated. "Luke and I scratched my cheek, struggling. Saying sugar daddy and sugar baby just sounds tacky. We're a couple." Jack said, "I know. I mean, I know you two were switched at birth, and that he accidentally lived your life. But please believe me, if he had a choice, he wouldn't have wanted that either. Suddenly, losing everything, his resources, lifestyle, and parents, it's a lot. Of course he's struggling." "Jack," he frowned. "Struggling?" I nodded. "So, if he ever messes up or offends you somehow, could you cut him some slack? You can always reach out to me. I'll scold him if needed, and I'll try to make it up to you if I can." I looked at him cautiously. "Is that okay?" Jack looked like he wanted to say something, then gave a faint smile that read, "I have no idea what you're talking about, but sure." "Okay." I changed clothes, got some ointment from a staff member, and by the time I was done, over 30 minutes had passed. Normally, Luke would have called or texted me by now to come out, but today, radio silence. Worried something had happened, I grabbed my phone, bundled up my ruined dress, and headed downstairs. As I passed the hallway and rounded the corner toward the elevators, I heard Jack's voice. "Why lie to her? Don't you like her?" Another familiar voice replied, "Since when is something between a husband and wife considered lying? It's just role play. Your version of role play is pretending you're broke so she'll take care of you? Does she even know the guy begging her for pocket money is about to close a billion-dollar deal?" That voice my bedmate had defended himself. "That's different. Getting pampered by your wife is incredibly seductive, okay? Besides, you don't have a wife or anyone to spoil you, so you wouldn't get it. Jack, I've been meaning to ask if she's your wife. Did you hold a wedding? Sign a marriage license? Because just now Isabel told me you're only dating." Luke lit up. "She really said that?" "She said we're dating. I can show my face again." Jack muttered, "Insane. Luke, we're not talking today." Jack shrugged. "Suit yourself. Luke." Luke checked his watch. "It's about time. I'm going to pick up my wife," Jack said lazily from behind. "Oh, right. Almost forgot she fell earlier. Probably nothing serious, but maybe take her to the hospital just in case." Luke froze, then bolted. "Why didn't you say so sooner?" I stood there quietly, listening to Luke's footsteps approach faster and faster until suddenly he was right in front of me, nearly running into me. "Luke! Luke!" He stopped dead. "Isabel, what are you doing here? Weren't you in the lounge?" I could barely control my expression. My hand trembled as I pointed at him. "So, you have money? I gave you a literal million. I felt like I'd been cheated on financially. You're rich, and you spent my money. Are you even human? We're done." Jack strolled past, catching the word done, and gave Luke a smug little smile before riding the elevator down. That smile? Honestly, Even I thought it was shameless. If I didn't realize by now how close these two were, I'd be an idiot. I thought back to how I pleaded with Jack not to be too hard on Luke. What a joke. No wonder Jack had that, I don't get it, but okay. Look, Luke grabbed my waist. Don't be mad. I can explain. I stomped his foot in a rage. Explain my ass, go home. Back home, I lounged in bed, munching fruit while Luke gave his explanation. Turns out, Luke's biological parents were also successful business people. Their assets weren't any less than the Smiths. The Dawsons were just in a different industry, so the two families hadn't interacted much before. After confirming the baby swap, both families started getting closer. Luke and Jack hit it off and became friends, so it wasn't fake versus real heir. They were both real heirs. From beginning to end, the only victim here was Mathey idiot, who handed over $1 million. I fumed. Where's my peanut? Luke tried to appease me, massaging my legs. Think about it. I was born in the top private hospital. Those aren't cheap. Anyone giving birth there had to be well off. Still, I'm sorry for lying to you. To make it up to you, all my money is yours now. Deal? He looked genuinely remorseful. I begrudgingly nodded. Fine, I'll forgive you. But tell me now anything else you're hiding. He thought for a moment. Nothing I'm hiding. But one correction. Go on. I never wanted to be your sugar daddy. From the start, I wanted to be your boyfriend. He smiled helplessly and tapped my forehead. Visiting you on set, sending flowers, asking you out, picking you up after work. What kind of brain thinks that's sugar daddy behavior and not just courting? Me. Sometimes people just overthink. Speaking of which, I grinned. So, you liked me that early on, huh? Of course, Luke said. How could I not? You're amazing. I blushed, shy, and giddy. Then, why didn't you say anything back then? Luke's voice was flat. Maybe because someone was in a rush to inspect the goods. I thought back on all the things I'd done before and felt a delayed wave of embarrassment. I gave Luke a sheepish grin. He didn't seem interested in holding it against me. Instead, he asked, now that you know how I feel, can I level up and officially be your boyfriend? His tone was light. Like any answer I gave would be okay. I could say yes, or no, or something completely off the wall, and he'd take it in stride. So, I said, I still want to be your sugar mommy. It just felt like being a sponsor came with more authority than girlfriend, like I could make outrageous demands and still get away with them. Luke didn't say anything right away. He just stared at me for a few seconds, and just when I thought he was taking it too seriously, he suddenly lifted my pajama top and tickled my belly. Me? He tickled again. His nails were short, so it was just the pads of his fingers lightly scratching my skin. It tickled, and I instinctively curled away from him. Luke grumbled. I hold you and cuddle you, but the second I lift your shirt, you pretend we're strangers. Bad princess. He kept tickling me as I squirmed and laughed until my cheeks were flushed and a light sweat broke out. Then he wrapped his arms around me, letting me rest on his chest. Isabel, I mean it. If you're not ready now, that's okay. Just keep it in mind. I'll be waiting whenever you are. Okay? I lay there quietly, feeling his heartbeat and the warmth of his body. Maybe it was impulsive, or maybe I was just caught up in the moment. I said, I don't want to be a bad princess. Luke. A second later, he went, I rolled over and buried my face in his chest. Even if I agree to be your girlfriend, you still have to listen to me. Always. Because you said I'm amazing. Luke chuckled and kissed the top of my head. Of course. Princess comes first. The next day, I headed to set as usual. Once I got there, I learned that Tony had been replaced. The director brought in someone last minute. Anna Megan leaned over and whispered, "Have you seen the news? Tony's in trouble." I perked up. "Tell me everything," Anna Megan said. "He got exposed chat logs of him harassing actresses. And on top of that, she rubbed her fingers together. Tax issues. You know? The internet's dragging him. Everyone's calling him creepy and disgusting. He even got summoned for questioning. Best case, he's out of the industry." I rested my chin on my hand and smirked. Serves him right. On wrap day, Luke made a reservation at my favorite restaurant. Halfway through dinner, he proposed. I was in the middle of a bite of chocolate cake when I turned around, and there he was, down on one knee, holding out a ring. I bit my fork. Other people's proposals usually come with surprises. Luke. Like what? Like hiding the ring in the cake. Luke looked at the ring in his hand. Are you sure? You really want me to hide a diamond worth over 10 million in a cake? What? 10 million? I tossed aside my dignity and held out my hand eagerly. Hurry up and put it on me. Who cares about the money? I really do want to marry you. Luke gave me a look that said, I know exactly what you're about, but I'll let it slide. I admired the ring from every angle. This pink diamond is huge. Speaking of huge, Luke raised an eyebrow. I kept teasing. You know, down there. Luke narrowed his eyes. Me. I gave him a cheeky grin and let it go. Luke stayed calm the whole way home, took off his coat like nothing happened, then suddenly hoisted me over his shoulder and marched to the bedroom. I flopped against his back, confused. What's going on? Luke sounded like he'd been holding it in all night. As he walked, he muttered, Weren't you curious about what's down there? Guess you didn't get a good look before. Let me give you a proper tour. I really wanted to say no because whenever we got into that kind of stuff, it always spiraled into chaos until midnight. And I had an early meeting tomorrow. But could I back down now? Of course not. I puffed up and said, Fine, show me. I'm not scared. I quickly learned that bravado gets you nowhere. In the bedroom, Luke had me pinned down, my clothes slipping off my shoulders as he kissed me breathless. My brain completely short-circuited. All I could do was grab his hair and gasp out threats. 3-day breakup, Luke objected. I don't accept. Not up to you. Yes, it is. No, it's not. A while later, I was crying and kicking him. Wah, fine, fine. You win. Breakup canceled.